Hi everyone, I'm Sterling Wilson, Field CTO at Object First. If you work in IT or cybersecurity in this day and age, you know all too well how the pressure to perform, the pressure for perfection, to have all the answers can feel relentless. Well, Object First recently released the results of an IT wellness survey just ahead of two key October milestones, Cybersecurity Awareness Month and World Mental Health Day on October 10th. The findings, well, they reveal just how tough it is right now for IT and cybersecurity teams. The constant risk of cyber attacks is leaving so many of us stressed and worried. Of the 500 people surveyed here in the US, 84% say they feel uncomfortably stressed about constant security threats. 78% feel they'll be personally blamed for the breach no matter the circumstances or outcomes. In fact, more than half of us surveyed have even considered leaving our jobs due to stress. That's why we've partnered with CyberMindz to provide a resource for reducing stress, building resilience, and finding our zen in all this madness. Mark Alba, Managing Director of CyberMindz, is here to tell us more. Mark, it's a pleasure to have you with us. I know you've spent years at this critical intersection of IT and mental wellness. What are your thoughts on these findings?
First off, thanks, Sterling, for having me. I am always surprised when I see those stats, but at the same time, I'm not surprised. I think anybody that has sat in a security operations center, anybody who's sat in IT understands burnout. They've either experienced it or they've seen their colleagues go through burnout. I've spent my career building products for cybersecurity professionals. I've been focused on the technology that improves our defenses and our resilience. But at CyberMindz, my mission has changed. Very simply put, I'm focused on the person that's actually sitting behind the monitor, which is a very rewarding place to be. We do a lot of research, and Sterling, quite frankly, we've seen very similar types of results. We've seen that 65% of cybersecurity professionals exhibit emotional depletion, which is one of the key indicators of stress that leads to burnout. Cybersecurity leadership is really struggling. 1 in 3 CISOs have signaled their intent to resign, which is very troubling because we are losing our cybersecurity leadership. And then finally, in a study that we did across 150 cybersecurity professionals, what we discovered is that they were experiencing burnout levels which exceeded the burnout levels of those frontline healthcare workers during the COVID-19 pandemic. Think about that. That is a very, very scary stat. Why does this happen? Well, we're seeing constant alerts. If you sit within a security operations center, you're bombarded with those alerts. If you're an IT professional and you're on call, it is late nights, oftentimes being woken up trying to solve a problem while you're waking up from the dead of sleep. And then for any cybersecurity professional, the threat actor is unknown and unseen. Our ancestors would encounter a predator, and that may be a bear, it may be a saber-toothed tiger. You could see that predator and you would move into fight or flight mode because you needed to move into fight or flight mode and you were reacting. Cybersecurity professionals, that threat actor doesn't go away. It's always unseen, and they're always in fight or flight mode, which leads to burnout over time.
So when we're operating in this fight or flight, this survival mode, it forces us to make decisions that aren't best for us. It's got to be impossible to perform at our best, right?
It's impossible. And studies have shown that after just 20 minutes of analysis, so I'm a threat intelligence analyst or I'm a threat responder, I'm sitting in front of a screen, I start to experience cognitive decline. And that's just after 20 minutes. And then we all know that when you are sitting in a security operations center, you have to context shift. I have to move from one thing and then move to another. And we do that over 400 times per day, again, leading to cognitive decline. In this state, we're making bad decisions if we're even making decisions. Most likely, we're just reacting and trying to survive.
The mistakes, this is sort of, I mentioned earlier, the stress that overcomes us. It's really because we feel like we just can't make these mistakes. And now I'm finding out that the stress that we're already living under is really causing us to be even a little more haphazard. How do we break the cycle and begin to build the resilience we need to make the decisions we should be making?
So, Sterling, I think the first thing is education. We need to know the signs. So things like emotional depletion, levels of depression that you might be experiencing. Physically, am I tired? I just had a great night's sleep, but I wake up tired. That's a great sign of stress that leads to burnout. Behavioral changes, both within yourself, you're experiencing anxiety, you are experiencing other forms of stress, but also behavioral changes that you see within your team. Are you seeing more fights? Are you seeing more bad decisions being made? And then finally, and probably one of the most important, because it happens over time, is that cognitive decline. I have fuzzy thinking. I'm not able to make decisions, or I'm making decisions very slowly. The second thing is we need to take action. And so this includes things that we all know about, exercise, eat well, all those great things. But look for intervention strategies, things like meditation and other intervention strategies that you can do on a regular basis to not only prevent burnout, but to prevent stress before it happens. And then the final thing is we need to think about operationalizing resilience. What does this mean? We as frontline IT workers and cybersecurity workers need to work with our leadership to make sure that they look at mental resilience as something that's going to improve performance. Mental resilience needs to be part of our standard operating procedures in the same way that other measures are put into incident response playbooks. This has to be something that's done not only within organizations, but it needs to be done across the industry.
If we're not even looking for these signs, how can then we begin to take the action and, of course, help others as well? Some key things that you've really said, this really means that these are meaningful actions for us to embrace and to live out. I feel like this isn't something that we can do alone. We have to really embrace each other and really normalize the conversation. And as leaders, I really feel like if we openly acknowledge our stress, if we know these signs as leaders, we can demonstrate some healthy coping mechanisms and it inspires others, right? I mean, to just make sure that prioritizing our well-being isn't just something that's just encouraged to do, but it's something that really has to happen so that we can continue to thrive together as a culture.
That's exactly right. I mean, it has to happen just for simple humanity. We want to be good people and we want to support our colleagues, but it also has to happen because having a burned out team is a risk to your organization. We think about resilience in the terms of what security controls do we have in place. We need to think about resilience in terms of do we actually have a staff that is not burned out and that is prepared to perform. At CyberMindz, we are focused on an intervention strategy called the IREST protocol, or the Integrative Restoration Protocol. This is a very powerful intervention strategy that's been leveraged by the U.S. Army at the Walter Reed Hospital to treat returning soldiers that were coming back from war that had very, very high levels of PTSD. The results are simple, but they are very powerful. Doing something like an intervention strategy like IREST allows you to have a higher level of clarity. It calms your nervous system and ultimately allows you to make better decisions.
Is this something that you perform daily, the IREST protocols themselves?
This is something that ideally you're performing daily. It takes time and it takes practice. I like to say, as much as I'd love to be able to run a marathon and take a pill and be able to run that marathon, there's no pill out there that's going to do it. In the same way, if you want to build mental resilience, if you want to take control of the stress and ultimately take control of how your brain deals with stress, that requires practice and it requires the commitment by both the individual and the organization to build mental resilience into your daily life.
This makes a lot of sense, and I'm really happy that we're providing actually some protocols that people can go out and try. We are certainly fighting another fight with cybersecurity and making sure that our data stays safe. And I think everybody that's listening understands that just like a server, you can't run at 95 or 100% utilization without breaking down. And that burnout just doesn't affect just the applications you're responsible for in computer text speak, right? It ripples outward. It impacts your team, your organization, pretty much everyone that relies on you, right?
That's right, Sterling. And I think, the takeaway here is, we've talked a lot about, some pretty depressing stuff, to be honest. But there is hope. Burnout is reversible, as I said, by implementing intervention strategies, by committing to reversing burnout. CyberMindz has seen very measurable results working with our clients. Scan this QR code that we're providing for you right now. We want to get you started on your way towards that path to mental resilience. It'll take you to resources that are practical, including recognizing the signs of stress, education on that, education on the neurological impact of stress on your body and your brain and how to actually deal with it, and then complementary access to CyberMindz protocol, where you can actually experience this intervention protocol that I'm talking about and start doing it on a daily basis.
That makes a lot of sense. And I screenshotted that QR code myself. This sounds like, something to live by. Thank you so much, Mark, for you and the entire CyberMindz team for all the incredible work you're doing to bring the awareness to such an important topic. Cybersecurity isn't just about systems and data, is it? It's about the people who work tirelessly to keep that data and all of us safe. We're grateful you took a few minutes to join us today here with CyberMindz. We encourage you to explore some of these tools that we've laid out for you today. Please share them with your teams and help normalize the conversation, not only around stress, but also around resilience and helping each other towards it. Together, we can foster a stronger, healthier environment for our teams and our organizations, creating a culture where we all feel that being a priority and being healthy for ourselves and others is a place where everyone can thrive. Thank you for your time today.